Shield dumbness, and I don't care. So, and I was just like, I know how this ends. I don't need to watch this. Don't make me watch this. And I turned the TV off.
I was. They did the title change, and I was like, should I be surprised by this? But then I was like, no, I'm not surprised by this at all. This is exactly a rehash of Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins getting back together.
I read some not upsetting, but not surprising dirt sheet news about this today.
Yeah.
Because the Observer came out today.
Okay.
And so, like, sort of the build-up for Jordan so far has been, okay, he's slowly, like, we're turning him heel, and now you can't, like, now you have to sort of undo that. And that's because the two people considered for this replacing Ambrose role were Jason Jordan and Finn Balor. One of those makes way more sense. Just
One of them
right
makes
out of the
sense
box.
in that
And the other one's name is Jason Jordan.
Right.
it's easier to do Jason Jordan because he's been tied up in all this nonsense.
Sure.
But
He's like a loose
You
cannon.
completely-
the issue is that you fuck up the whole story.
Yeah, you completely change it. And that's not really something you want to do going into WrestleMania season in like 2 weeks.
Like, remember the original Power Rangers when the Green Ranger started out as a bad guy, and then like they did the 3-episode arc, and then he turned into a good guy at the end of that.
Right.
This would be like if they were to turn him into a good guy at episode 2.
Yeah. And somehow they have to turn him back.
It would have been super easy. You just package Finn with Seth and then have Jason Jordan continue to whine about why he didn't get stuck with Seth because he deserves a title shot and all that shit.
Yeah.
And they were just like, no, give you the title shot. And Jason's like, I don't want to be in a tag team. And Kurt's like, I like the intensity. You guys are going to fuck now.
Right. That's how that goes.
Jesus Christ! Welcome to Kayfabe, I'm Brian Ferguson.
Nick DeJardins.
Rob Thackeray.
So yeah, what a fucking garbage week.
That was my interpretation of
Garbage
Raw.
week.
I liked it.
For Raw.
I liked it a lot.
SmackDown was pretty fun. I thought.
SmackDown was good. Yeah.
Let's fucking burn through Raw so that we don't have to talk about this nonsense for
Please.
very long. We have seen, there was one part of Raw that I really did enjoy, and that was the opening part.
Yeah, the Cena part was great.
Yes.
I was like, the John Cena came out and it was like, John Cena sucks. And he was like, oh, they're caroling. And I was like, they're caroling. And then I was like, oh, I hate John Cena. And then he gave his like gear to the kid and I was like, nah, I'm crying.
Yeah.
Everything before this upcoming match is great.
The match was fine at the beginning.
It was way too long.
Super
Yes.
Cena.
Oh,
It
God.
should have been like a 5-minute match. It felt like 4 hours.
It was 18 minutes.
Was it really?
It was 18 minutes.
Jesus, got to get that Cena time
This
in.
is what happens when you have a 3-hour show to fill.
Yeah, well, especially with no commercials in the first hour. Oh.
Yeah, for sure. So the best part about that was the punch in the nose from Elias, because when I was a kid, my father always told me that if somebody is fucking with you, you punch them in the nose, they'll go right down. And it turns out he's 100% right. If you punch John Cena in the nose, he will just
Right down.
fall right over.
I think Cena wasn't ready to go out there because you saw that Cena had his like dad shorts on,
Yep.
dad jorts on.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have his like extra long jorts that he wears for wrestling. He had his like really like high like I'm gonna be a dad jorts. So
Yeah,
like
for sure.
I was like, man, I don't know if
Way
he's gonna
more
wrestle.
Cena thigh this time around than usual.
What
Made me a bit
concerns me the
uncomfortable.
most is that it was like -3 degrees in Chicago that night, and he's still wearing jean shorts.
I don't think he owns anything else.
I think those may be his winter shorts.
I think he just owns jean shorts and red carpet suits.
Yeah, it's like jean shorts and suits. He has no in
and
between.
all of those suits are like plaid suits.
Right.
He and Big E shop at the same suit place.
I feel like literally every part of this show was predictable. The only thing that wasn't predictable is that Elias is doing way better in the ring. They're letting him show off his skills. They did not need that long of
I think
a
they're
match.
doing what they should have done with Jordan with Elias. Like they're building him up, and he's not winning, but he's going against these like really reputable like people and like taking them to what you would see would be, because like he had like Cena on the ropes and they were talking about it, and then Booker kind of went on the fuck you, Corey, you've never been in the ring, and then Super Cena happened.
Even though Corey had been in NXT,
Right,
and just happened
yeah.
to have his career cut short.
Yeah,
you
I
know.
mean, like he took Roman to the edge, and like him and Roman had a really good match, and like
Yes.
he's had a match with
And
Joe,
that's a
and,
thing
like,
to
it's just
say, because it's
so-
not very often that you see a match where Roman is the
underdog.
not the underdog, but he's the one carrying the match.
Sure.
And have it be a good match.
See, that's where I'm going to digress on this match, because I thought, because of how long this match went, neither Elias or John looked particularly good. I think John's style doesn't really mesh well with Elias's, and so it doesn't cover up some of his shortcomings. Elias has a really good elbow drop, and he's really good with his character, and the shake, rattle, and roll, or the whatever it's called, is
he doesn't
fine.
yet have an in-ring persona.
Right. It's very... I don't know. It's still really rough, and to get 18 minutes of it on Christmas Raw
was too much. That should have been at
mean,
least 10 or at least 8 minutes.
You should have had him
Absolutely.
get some early offense and then have Super Cena arrive
Sure.
before it happened. But I still think, like, storyline reasons wise, if you take out the amount of time that it was, like, they're doing good things with Elias,
Absolutely.
and they're bringing him up in the way that they should have been bringing Jason Jordan up, into where he's getting, like, he's you see him, like, crescendoing, like he's coming up. So
this is how Jinder Mahal should have come up.
Yes.
It's a much more natural elevation.
Yeah.
I like it.
Follow that up. Next up was Hideo Itami versus the Brian Kendrick. All that I remember from this match is the Brian Kendrick getting his face literally broken.
Yeah. Hideo is not pulling his contact very well.
Here's the question, because there's only really one question about this match that comes from this. Is the GTS banned?
No, I don't think so.
Because they didn't do it the next day.
I was trying to figure out who had the go to sleep, and I was like, I saw Tommy do the go to sleep, and I was like, they're gonna let him keep the go to sleep.
He invested
with everything that they're doing. I was like, they're gonna let him keep the go to sleep, and I was like, all right, fine. Like, Rollins can't do a fucking pedigree or can't do the head stomp or anything like that, but like, this guy gets to keep a go to sleep.
I don't know why you can't do the pedigree, because the pedigree is literally the safest move in the world to do.
I would be surprised if they don't let Hideo keep the go to sleep for two reasons. One, of course, he did innovate the go to sleep. Punk took it from Hideo. Two, Vince is so petty that
he would let him use the GTS. Yeah,
yes,
that's fucking rude.
I think.
You think he would do it just as a little fuck you, John, or CM Punk?
So much,
especially since it was a Chicago show.
Sure, and realistically, this is one broken nose and orbital bone out of countless
and
times.
It's from it's to the Brian Kendrick, somebody who they don't terribly need on TV right now. It gives Jack Gallagher the time to or gives him a built-in storyline for a little while.
Right, he gets to feud with Hideo, and so that's
respect me.
Kendrick's out for 2 months.
Okay, that's not terrible.
It's not bad. Not bad. Injury update.
There's going to be a bunch of them this week.
Surprise.
Well, I noticed that the following night on 205 Live, he did not do the go to sleep.
Yeah, he did.
He did the Rings of Saturn.
Really cool modification with his leg behind Gallagher's head. It looked good. I don't know what they'll call it. But yeah. So
I think that's one of those things that, like, all right, you definitely can't do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't expect them to use it for probably 2 weeks or more.
Gallagher's already slamming his face into things unprotected. Let's not slam his face into Hideo's knee the day after he broke somebody's face.
That would be a very bad call.
Let's give it some time.
We had a 6-woman tag. I am so burned out on 6-person tag
I'm
matches.
so glad you didn't watch like any wrestling for the last 2 years then, because during the Authority, it was every night it ended on 6-man cane tag.
It is seriously 6-person tagged on almost every show. I'm trying to think of where, like, of the main shows, it's been 6-person tags on, I think, every show. In one form or the other.
About one.
Either tag team triple threats or actual 6-person tags.
The trouble with sort of, because, and I get why they're doing it, because trios matches are becoming significantly more popular on the indies, in Ring of Honor, in Lucha Underground. New Japan fucking does multi-man tags all the time, but it's because they do it to keep their guys rested up. They're not the same multi-man tag matches week in, week out. And
really? Are you sure? Because it feels like the same goddamn...
Oh, no, he's saying New Japan. He's
New Japan.
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize.
In WWE, it's the same fucking people week in and week out, whereas like Ring of Honor or New Japan is using it to, okay, let's get everybody on the card without get your spots in without having to go 10 minutes and possibly risk an injury this week when we have a big show in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
makes so much more sense.
For a good year and a half, it seemed like it was Kane and Rollins and one of J&J Security versus 3 other guys, and that was your main event for a year and a half on Raw. That was it. That's what you got.
Awful.
I feel like it's really I kind of feel like it's disrespectful. We're talking about the women's division and all that it's accomplished over the past year. And they deserve it. They legitimately have a fantastic roster with the exception of a couple people.
Oh, absolutely.
They do amazing things. They are
talk bad about our goddess.
Just about as good. I mean, if it weren't for the lack of numbers, they would be just as good as the men's roster.
Sure, I mean,
and there's parts of it that are better.
Absolutely.
I think it's Raw that's mishandling the women. I think it's Raw as a whole that's mishandling because like you're talking about like
it
the women's
feels like
everything,
but it could just be that Raw is ruining
the SmackDown
all of their
women's
storylines.
division
significantly better,
handling it significantly better, having what I would consider a worse top to bottom roster of talent.
Sure.
So it's mostly just Raw just booking lazily.
Things?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know if it's a difference in the writing staff. I don't know if someone is more hands-on with Raw than they are on SmackDown, but it's atrocious that you have Bayley, Sasha Banks, Alexa Bliss, Mickey James, sort of all being mishandled. They're doing nothing. They're doing absolutely nothing. And again, we have the sort of benefit of being able
Alexa
to see
hasn't
this.
had a match since Survivor Series.
No, and
her last title defense was 10:30. Her last TV defense was October the 30th.
Jesus.
And I mean, we made shit on Nia Jax's performance or in-ring performance, but the reality is if you don't perform, you're not gonna get better.
Sure, absolutely.
So I mean, she's still an incredibly green performer. She got rushed to the main stage because she has a certain look that you don't have. Which I don't think that there's necessarily anything bad with that. But the fact of the matter is that if you're not going to put them in matches, they're not going to improve.
Right.
We've seen people who have improved week to week.
Sure.
Because they're getting because they're getting in the ring more.
We have right now, we have a perfect example of just how differently the women's division is being handled in between shows because we have the same angle being booked 2 completely different ways.
Yes.
It
started out identically.
Absolutely.
For the first 2 weeks, it was the exact same thing.
Sure. The only divergence was that second week we actually got a match on SmackDown, whereas we didn't on Raw. And it's continued on SmackDown where there's been continuity in the story. Naomi coming back 2 weeks after getting her head crushed in.
Right. To having them not be this unstoppable force, which it doesn't make any sense that they would be unstoppable forces completely.
Sure.
Paige has been a champion before.
Right.
She's lost titles before.
Right.
So, I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense that she happens to be the most unstoppable thing in the whole world.
No, realistically, you'd want to book Sonya Deville that way.
You would want to build her, or don't get me wrong, you definitely want to book her strong, but booking her unbeatable doesn't make any sense.
No, not at all.
I don't even know how this ended. Paige got the rampage on Bayley.
Bayley. Sasha Banks took most of the beating, and Bayley took the pin.
Yep.
That's how it went.
Because
Mickey
Bayley
James
has,
was in the
4
match
moves
for
of doom and
almost none of it.
Yeah. Mickey James was literally
she was seat filler.
Apron candy.
Yep.
Here's where we started getting into like the funnier, almost silly parts. We had Kane versus Heath Slater because Rhino is trying to toughen up Heath Slater.
He's gonna make a man out of him.
He gets some good offense in. He gets some TV time. It was pretty fun. I thought. The crowd got behind him.
There's a great sign in the crowd. If you get a chance to go back and watch it this week, at one point you get a very clear cut of the hard side of the crowd. I think it's when Kane is going for the choke slam, and there's just a sign in the front row. Don't you have mayor stuff to do? So good, so good. I will fantasy book this later maybe, but given that Rhino also recently ran for office in Michigan, I'd like to see a Kane-Rhino feud over politics here. I think that'd be real good.
Oh, like a legitimate debate?
Yeah,
except ring gear?
Except with wrestling moves.
Have them stumping, just like trying to...
The only thing that's surprising at all about this match is that Heath Slater doesn't get completely squashed.
Right.
And also that Rhino at the end of it also gets the choke slam, which was fine.
Sure.
It's a fun gimmick. I like what they're doing. It's nice to see people who haven't been on TV or in a while on TV again. And to get or following that, we had Kurt Hawkins do an open challenge so that he can beat or end the year on a positive note, which seems like it would go really well until Finn Balor comes out and does a better squash match than Kane does.
I just don't know how I feel about Finn's gimmick being guy who answers open challenges.
He
like
loves
that's just what he does
except
right
for
now.
the one open challenge that would make sense for him going for.
Right. He's just like, I'm going to answer the open challenges of anyone lower on the roster than me.
That's
it.
That went fine. We had another goddamn...
Looks up at Roman.
We followed that match up with another goddamn 6-person tag.
Yup.
This time in the Cruiserweight division, good guys win because it's Christmas.
I was okay with this one, though, because it's basically a Christmas garbage match.
Yeah, or a lot of people are in costumes.
Yep.
It's fucking ridiculous. It's very silly.
It's
This was the one where, did Ali get the pin on this one, or did he get the pin on 205?
I think Ali got the pin on this one because, well, I mean, either way, it's his hometown crowd, but I think Ali got the pin on this one.
Ali does great. I think that he's probably the most fun face.
Ali for sure got the pin on 205. I remember that one.
I like Ali more than I like Cedric at this point, I think.
Ali's got a little bit more personality.
Yeah.
Cedric was okay on 205, though.
I thought. We had Roman versus Joe in the Intercontinental title match. That match ends the way that it needed to.
Sure.
Via disqualification?
Yeah.
I thought the only thing is
Roman was doing really heel shit and getting cheers, and I was just like,
right?
I guess it's because he's mad that like Dean does it, but like you don't see like Super Cena doing this
right
and getting cheers. So like, why does he get to like tween and be a face?
Because he's not a bad guy. And he's not a good guy. He's just
the big dog.
Oh yes, sir. Believe it. Yeah, no, it's. I thought if you're trying to make this guy your face, he's going a little too far in beating down Samoa Joe,
right.
And
seems like a very Joe thing to do in taking it
right
into the extracurriculars, but.
And you've got to remember, Samoa Joe is not exactly mid-card right now either. So
I expected this one to end in a DQ. I did not expect the DQ to be because of Roman.
Sure, absolutely.
I fully expected Joe to do some dirty things.
Yeah, same. Honestly, that's what made sense. It was fine. Get the title off of Roman because we all know where Roman's going for the next few months. So just
get it over with. And your
pull it off of him.
Is fucked.
It's gone.
Poor Dino is out for upwards of 9 months.
9 months is the prediction.
I'm really sad.
Yeah,
he's no longer the Iron Man. I think Jimmy or Jay, one of the Usos is now the reigning WWE Iron Man.
Yep. Which is a shame because Dean for a couple years there was the hardest working guy. I mean, we're talking about a guy who was working house shows for both brands on the same night. He went a very long time.
It's Jimmy Uso.
Is it Jimmy?
Yeah.
He went a very long time uninjured. So it's a bummer to see this happen now when there's a sort of storyline in place, and now he's gonna have to sit out Mania, which it's got to be difficult for anybody.
I'm really bummed out. Dean Ambrose may be my favorite person since watching wrestling.
Fair.
Over the past year.
Beans Ambrose.
I don't really say this terribly often, but I really do wish him the best because he is just the hardest fucking worker.
Absolutely.
Seth is gonna have a breakdown. He doesn't even have a phone to contact him. What are we gonna do?
Here's actually one of the best parts about this match was Joe's promo that he cut. With Renee Young, I thought was absolutely fantastic.
Ooh, yeah, that was
you
interesting.
had Joe talking about how now Dean gets to be with his family on Christmas, and he's just staring at Renee Young.
Yep.
Dean's new wife.
I think it's really I really hope that this is sort of planting the seed for. I know Vince doesn't like long-term booking, but I really hope this is the seed for 9 months from now.
Dean Joe.
Yeah,
I would love to see
that.
Dean
would be
Joe.
a great feud.
I would, or I
It'd be a
think
great feud, not over nothing, but like there wouldn't even need to be titles involved. Like that'd be a great like have them fuck off for like a couple months and just like beat the shit out of each
Here's
other.
what I think about Dean Joe. They should do Dean Joe the way that they should have done Dean Lesnar.
Sure,
Like
absolutely.
Like have it be a street fight.
Absolutely.
No DQ, just straight up brawl, because both of their styles work that way.
Oh yeah, they can both absolutely brawl. Dean can be really technical when he wants to. Samoa Joe is obviously a very technical wrestler, but the timing couldn't be better because if it's 9 months, if he comes back early, we'll get that for SummerSlam. If not, they can save it for either Hell in a Cell or for Survivor Series.
Yeah, I think that would be absolutely fantastic.
I hope that's on the horizon.
We had a squash match with Braun Strowman against the Miz Taraj because we can't keep the Miz Taraj off TV.
Can we talk about the Miz Taraj and their caroling and wishing you a very Mizmas?
I thought it was fun. I think that the tempo was too fast.
Fair, yeah. I really like
The
that
tempo was jarring to me.
I like that
Braun coming out and like interrupting people is getting just about as old as like your Gulak's PowerPoint presentation getting interrupted. Like every time something happens, I'm like looking at the Titantron off camera from my TV, waiting for like Braun roar to happen. I'm just like, all right.
It's one of those like sort of it's one of those running gags that it's just what you expect now.
I'm not done with you.
I hate that he is in the title running because it's more fun to have him do this and it makes more sense.
Going back to
And
fantasy booking a few weeks ago, it's why you need like a hardcore belt.
Yeah.
Put that on Braun and let Braun run roughshod for 6 to 9 months trying to get the hardcore belt and keep it.
Yeah. Here's the closest thing to a surprise match, and by surprise I mean not at all. We had the Bar versus Not Quite Shield for the tag team titles.
I don't even want to call them Shield Light. Like I don't know what it is. It's
I'm
just
sticking
like...
with Not Quite Shield. I have it listed as NQS. Now here's the only interesting thing about this match is Seth Rollins has faced one or both members of the Bar 74% of 2017 on Raw TV.
I fully believe that.
It is absolutely disgusting. They took a hell of a performer, somebody who's absolutely fantastic.
Sure.
Against a couple people who are against two other fantastic performers.
Right.
And they have turned this into the most boring fucking thing of the week.
They just beat us over the head with
I
it.
just dread watching Raw because I know I'm going to have to watch the Shield face the Bar again.
I could not be more tired of this feud.
It's awful. On to SmackDown. We had the triple threat
Oh my god, this was
tag
like
match
the best part. Like
for the number one contender.
Before NXT, I think this was my best match of the week.
Fair.
In my opinion. I know you're kind of burnt out on like 6-man.
I
like,
would
tag,
really enjoy this
hooligan.
match if it didn't have 6 fucking people in it. I just can't do this anymore.
In defense of the match, it was far better than.
There were some great spots. Like everybody had one. They had like a triple power, like a power bomb thing with like Rusev. Like Shelton and Gable have that modified almost Doomsday device that they do. Like they had the Stack-a-Lade with Rusev. Like it was just
the Stack-a-Lade was
it was
great.
just spot fest after spot.
When Rusev started doing shit like towards the end, that was where like, oh, I'm wrong about this match.
Gable's double German suplex.
He did
Gable
like a
continues to just
super
stand out.
Like
He did the German suplex to Big E, who was doing a German to Aiden English, I believe.
Somebody had
good.
he did the roll through suplex on Rusev. Who's a big boy.
Big fella.
Somebody on Reddit on the Squared Circle weekly posts had this tag listed in the best possible way of Chad Gable and better Jason Jordan, and it made me so happy.
I really liked. I know. I hate to give a New Day credit, but I really liked Big E calling Shelton Benjamin old Jason Jordan.
That one was
real
also
good.
really good.
The New Day they're great on the mic. I just hate how they're just
I don't need them to
beyond
do stuff.
childish in their thing. And I guess it's whatever. Like you got to appeal to the kids.
Here's
and
what
stuff,
I'm saying: they don't need to be in the ring. You can do something like you did with
Put them on the fucking Fashion Files. I don't want to see them on
That's
TV.
or have them do like Fashion Files kind of shit where it's just background nonsense.
Right.
Where they're just pranksters. They're just goofy pranksters.
Now, I'm hoping, because Xavier Woods is going to be in the U.S. title tournament, which we'll get to in a second. I'm hoping this sort of pulls them out of tag contention for a bit.
They do your thing.
They
do both of your guys'
They're listening to our stuff.
Yes.
We just need to see how this ends, and if it ends the way that we want, then we should ask WWE for money.
Can we?
I like it.
I want to rename because they don't have like a tag team name. Like it's Rusev Day and the New Day, and you have the Usos. Like it's Shelton and Gable, or Shelton and Gable, or Benjamin and Gable, or whatever. I want to rename them Ben Gay.
I like that.
I'm pretty okay with that. Yeah.
Give them a sponsorship.
Especially given that they're wearing the sort of the jock uniform anyway.
Yeah, kind of like they're gonna need some ointments.
Yeah.
And some. You know.
I've also been writing it as Ben Gable.
Okay.
Yeah, that worked.
Has been another one.
Okay.
Yeah. So that match goes to Ben Gable.
Yep.
Which was a really good ending. You don't.
And now
once
they're the
again,
tag team
you
with
do
number one
not
contenders.
need Rusev Day or in title contention.
No.
As long as you're having them together, they're getting the pop. You can
Sure
put
are.
them, or you can have them run a program with just New Day
Sure.
and have it work out great. Almost like a tournament to see
Who's the better day?
No, who's the better face team.
Well,
You flapped the wrong
close.
sucker.
Fun fact: the Rusev Day shirt is already sold out on the .com.
Couldn't get it. Wanted to get it. Couldn't get it.
Apparently, was also sold out at the Chicago. Sold out before the event actually started in Chicago on Tuesday.
That is awesome.
I love that they've changed his ring gear
fuck.
now.
Yep.
Is the same kind of like style of like pantaloon he had.
Right.
But it says Rusev Day now on it. And I
Yeah,
like that.
it's a good call.
I love ring gear changes. They're my favorite.
I love that in the ring, like throughout the matches in the ring, like whenever he's winning, he's
just like-
smiling.
Yes, like it's almost as if he is forcing himself to turn face. Like he's forcing the writing staff. Look, I'm so over you. I have to be a face. I have to.
All right, we followed this up with Breezango versus 2B.
Oh, I loved it.
I think it was a better match than what was on the pay-per-view.
Sure.
You got this one ends great because you have an ascension ring in or run in.
Yep.
The best part about this is the Fashion Files is now officially on the WWE YouTube.
Right.
So you didn't have that cut in.
Right.
It's like 3.5 minutes on YouTube. It's fantastic. It was a great episode.
It's fantastic. It needs to. I love that they're doing it this way.
They're gonna give their new best friends another title match or another match because
this whole thing of like the Ascension keep on being the best friends.
Right.
I want to see
sexy astronaut
here's what I
uniforms
wanna
they
see.
didn't get for Christmas.
I want to see a heel turn.
Uh-huh.
Where it turns out that where this has all been a plan between Ascension and
The Bludgeon Brothers
before one of those two teams leaves over to Raw
To be a
and
Wyatt.
it turns out that the Ascension were in cahoots with the Bludgeon Brothers the whole time, just to destroy Breezango.
And you
okay with
somehow
that.
Breezango are like hurt at the end of it because they were like, we thought you were your friends, and we're like, you never were our friends.
But then when they go to Raw, just hard heel turn.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, not funny at all.
Right.
Very serious.
We had Ruby Riott versus Naomi. Ruby Riott.
Quick match.
Very quick.
This one was a little bit faster because we had Naomi win last week.
Right.
This was just a tit for tat.
Yep.
Riott takes the win on this one.
I want Liv Morgan more on TV. Or no,
Liv's reactions after the match were really good. She just very quick, very Jersey. It was something like happy holidays, Merry Christmas, thank you, or something. And it was just really like small character work, but she's already very much her own character in the way that Mandy Rose is great to look at, but is basically bland Trish Stratus right now.
Here's what's a real bummer about Raw is that you have the two background characters of whatever they're called because I'm
Absolution.
blanking on it already. The two background of Absolution have no character at all.
Right.
And they've done character work for everybody on the Riot Squad.
Right. Absolutely.
Sarah Logan and her Peppa.
She eats game meat.
Right. They let her talk. They shouldn't have let her talk, but they let her talk.
Sure.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
Like it's a meme now. but
right, as opposed to Sonya Deville, who
had
nothing
huge
going for her
in NXT,
right,
and like it's really fucked up because like I'm watching NXT where they have her last tape matches, I guess,
yes,
versus what she's doing on Raw,
totally
and she's
different.
just so bland.
Absolutely,
I went from like seeing her in like the qualifier matches for the women's championship on NXT.
right.
And she was great. She put on fantastic performances.
Sure.
And now she's completely forgettable.
Welcome to the main roster.
Surprise.
It's a real bummer of like how they treat NXT people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's really unfortunate to see. I mean, look where Nakamura is right now. Look where Finn is right now. You know, Samoa Joe he's fine right now, but he should be in a better place.
To be fair, that has more to do with Brock than it has to do with WWE.
Very true. Very true.
I was gonna say Rome, the Shield are the ones that have had the best sort of run. Roman specifically coming from there, but apart from him, Rude would be the only one that I think that has the highest standing right now.
And it's not
And
super high.
Top mid.
So.
And even they're not really top mid yet. I mean, he'll probably get the win because
It's gonna be Mahal versus which we'll
actually. Well, no, because if you're doing a round robin, then it's gonna be Rude versus Mahal next.
We'll see.
Sure.
Anyway, we had the Corbin versus Rude qualifier match, doing exactly what we predicted last week. Not really much to say. I mean, it was a good match, but it ends.
Rude wins via roll up, which I thought was real weird.
They're doing a lot of that. A lot of roll ups. A lot of roll ups and a lot of 6-person tags. That's what I'm getting out of the WWE lately.
I get the sort of surprise factor of winning with a roll up, and of course it makes Corbin look like a chump, which really works with his character.
Right now, yeah.
But it doesn't do much for Rude.
No, not really.
So,
especially because you follow that up with Dillinger
Makes
versus
his finishers
Mahal.
look weak.
Mahal looks super strong in that match.
yeah.
But it's up against Ty Dillinger, who is like
Corey
the
Graves
top
called him
jobber, I guess is his role right now.
Yeah.
Graves called him a sociopath, and I was like, man, Corey Graves is winning
He's
winning
great.
the calls until NXT happened.
Corey's definitely in the upper echelon of our WWE announcers.
Corey did a lot of like great things in SmackDown, basically saying that it's a joke show and how the real show is over on Raw, and how the women's announcement was on Raw for a reason, and all this other kind of stuff.
It's
He has almost two different personas. Like his SmackDown
does.
persona is like almost like a
Strong heel.
He's a
Yes.
strong heel, but he
Versus,
makes
like-
good points. Like he's factually accurate in his heel assessments, and like Saxton is like a face, but he's a buffoon, so you hate him. So it's like you kind of don't really want to like either of them, but you side with Corey,
I'm
but
always
you're
gonna
just
like
like
Corey better.
sure.
but you're just like you're kind of an asshole.
Corey's he's very much leaning heavy into that sort of Bobby Heenan role. What I like about Corey is even when he's leaning hard into heel on SmackDown,
He doesn't shit on anybody.
not only
We've
that,
mentioned this before, but it still is worth mentioning. Even talking about
Absolutely.
Elias.
yeah,
Elias, he had some great commentary because they were talking about.
sure did.
You had Booker and Cole talking about how, Graves, you hate Elias. And he's like, look, I don't like him. I hate his singing. He is a great in-ring performer.
Sure.
And that is amazing. I love seeing that.
That's really great. I also just really like that he, unlike most of the other announcers, he's got continuity in what he does. He
What do you mean
makes
Booker T isn't just saying whatever is on his mind at that very second?
What did Booker T say this week? Right-handed southpaw jab, which
He
doesn't
said-
make any fucking sense.
He said, like, right after Michael Cole, almost like talking to himself under his breath, he was like, that's some good stuff. Like, on Raw. And, like, I was just like, what? I only caught it because
Really
I
hope
had
that was during the
subtitles on.
women's match.
But I was just like, no, it was during the first, the Cena segment, and I was just like, I was so confused about what, like, Booker's doing.
I don't know
Ever.
what his role is. Anyway, we finished off with Styles versus Owens. You have this big thing where you had the stare down between Shane and Daniel Bryan, where like they're really just building up this whole: is Daniel Bryan subverting Shane's authority? Is Shane is Shane obsessed? You had the finale of this match making it or really pushing the whole Shane is obsessed point.
Talking about Cole or Corey Graves and Saxton again. Like Corey Graves is he's pushing the like he's right in his assessment, even though he's siding with the heels in Sammy and in Kevin. He's saying that like, hey, they're being treated unfairly, even though they are acting shitty. And Saxton's like, no, they're shitty people. They deserve this. And Corey's like, no, it's unfair. And like I like the back and forth. It really like shows the difference between them.
Even when talking about Jason Jordan, I mean, the reality about the Jason Jordan thing is that like nepotism doesn't really play that much into it, but everybody's saying that it does.
Sure.
The reality is that Jason Jordan is a great performer. He's just boring as fuck and a charisma vacuum.
Very, very much so.
And just doesn't have like a real personality yet. But the reality is like, would you or in kayfabe, would you put him as one of the top performers in or on the roster? Yeah, probably.
I think
like barely, like at the bottom echelon of that list. But,
yeah, definitely at the bottom. Jason Jordan is a really great hot tag.
Sure.
Like for the last 4 minutes of a match,
but like
he's great.
But what I'm saying is like with Corey Graves defending Jason Jordan, he's right to do that.
Absolutely.
Like it makes sense that he would. Because he does see that Jordan is a great performer and isn't necessarily getting by on just nepotism alone.
I think a lot of Corey's personality and sort of commentating style comes from the fact that Corey is very much a student of the game. Both he and Byron Saxton are former wrestlers.
Right.
The difference is that Byron Saxton was not a good wrestler, was not a wrestler for very long, and Corey Graves very much so was.
Corey was taken out of the game. He didn't want to leave.
Absolutely. Byron was removed from the game.
Yeah, Corey suffered from too many concussions.
Yes.
Just a concussion sponge.
Yeah, and that's why Daniel Bryan's out.
Right.
You know, I mean, it ended Corey's career, and that's a shame because he was good. Corey Graves legitimately could have been your next CM Punk. Realistically,
I could totally see that.
Absolutely could have happened. Very, very similar characters, kind of a different working style, but great. But we're sort of lucky in that I think Corey has really come into his own as the best main roster commentator by far.
He'll have unless if something crazy happens, he'll have a long career on mic.
Absolutely. I very much see him being our heel commentator in 10 years still. Without
in the
question.
same way that we had JR and the
Lawler,
King.
yeah.
I mean, the only reason why they were removed, or they were both forcibly removed, if I recall correctly.
Yes, Lawler very much lost any sort of charisma he really had, and Vince McMahon has always hated Jim Ross.
Yeah, I mean, if I recall correctly, like the story is something happened backstage. JR barely didn't take the company side and was removed.
It was a few years ago. It was before SummerSlam, I believe. There was a WWE 2K whatever it was that year announced, and Ric Flair was there on the panel, and Jim Ross was hosting the panel, and Ric Flair had a bit too much to drink. And JR did not do a good job of corralling Rick back to where they needed to be. And as such, Jim Ross took the fall and sort of was fired from the company. And Ric Flair is Ric Flair, and he's impervious.
The greatest of all time.
Yeah, exactly. So that's that.
But because of this, we have JR calling Wrestle Kingdom this year. So it's probably good. We have Styles versus Owen match.
It's fine.
Good match. They both perform really well.
They go well together.
You can't really say anything bad about them.
When's the last time Kevy did his little like almost like driver off the top rope thing that he was doing? Because like he hasn't done that, and I felt in a long while.
I think he's only been pulling that out for big pay-per-views.
Okay.
I think
because I really like that move. Like I feel like it's like a great like little.
Oh, it is. It definitely is.
So then that match ends with. Sami Zayn interrupts.
Right.
Doesn't really like attack anybody, but just like grabs the ref's attention.
Right.
Shane comes
good
out.
Manager stuff. He's just doing his job.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just doing what a manager does.
Absolutely.
We have Shane come out, throws out.
Waiting too, like he's like out there immediately, like he's like on the edge, like peeking his head.
You can almost see him just perched back there, going, "I'm gonna get you."
Yeah. He runs out, has Sammy thrown out of the building.
Right.
As they are walking up the ramp, somehow the ref decides that he needs to be involved in this.
Right.
AJ gets the roll-up, realizes no one's counting, gets out of the roll-up, ref comes back in, KO gets the roll-up back, gets the 1, 2, 3. You have a great look of AJ Styles staring down Shane with an inaudible, I'm sorry.
Right. I'm thinking...
You're going to see the whole... Or I think that this is going to be a massive heel turn where you see like the whole roster turn on Shane.
Sure. I think...
Yep.
If Shane doesn't turn on the whole roster first.
Yeah.
The
thing is, like, AJ and he already, or in kayfabe, already have a tenuous relationship at best.
Sure.
They had a match at WrestleMania for reasons.
Yep.
That's the best I could figure out as to why they had a match at WrestleMania.
I'm sort of wondering if, because of course, the 25th of January, we're expecting an announcement from Vince McMahon in regards to something related to football. I'm sort of wondering if this is a way to set up your new Mr. McMahon character. Because if Vince is going to be doing something with football, first off, Vince is 71, 72 now. The last time we saw him on camera, he took a massive headbutt to the dome, left him bleeding. Vince can't be the Mr. McMahon character he was in 1999 anymore. So it kind of makes me wonder if that's what they're setting up here with Shane. Because if you guys think back to the Attitude Era, Vince did not start out as the bad guy. Even after screwing Brett, he wasn't necessarily the bad guy. He wasn't the bad guy until the Austin feud really kicked off.
It was me, Austin.
And really, at the beginning of the Austin feud, he's just telling Steve Austin, look, you just came back from almost getting your neck broken. I can't clear you to wrestle yet because I want you to be wrestling for a long time. You know, he's this face character, but at the same time, the crowd is not appreciating it. And I'm wondering if SmackDown being significantly better written right now, which is weird to say because, again, it's the Road Dogg, I'm sort of wondering if that's what they're setting up here. A sort of big heel turn for Shane.
Book it.
I think that would be fun.
I don't know. My 2 cents.
205 was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was fine. The last match was really fun.
Right.
Or the other two I could have skipped. Tommy versus Gallagher was good in the sense that it's you get some offense from Gallagher. It's more competitive than the Brian Kendrick match.
Right. I don't know what the fuck they're doing with the Tommy.
I don't know either. I hate Respect Me more than I hate anything else right
Respect
now
Me,
in the whole wide world.
Okay, that's fair. He's really playing that up, and I'm pretty sure they've told him, hey, go out there and get heat. So he's like, okay, I don't speak much English. This is what I'm going to do. But I don't know why they want him getting heat when he's fighting heels right now.
I like Tommy. Like, his in-ring
He's
style
great.
is fantastic.
Right.
I would like everything about him if he stopped screaming,
Sure.
Respect Me. Like, right now, my rank of, like, things that I hate is, like, Adolf Hitler,
Okay.
Hideo Itami's Respect Me,
Uh-huh.
and then Carrot Top. Like, those are the things that I hate more than anything else in the whole wide world.
That's fair. What if Hideo Itami was doing prop comedy?
Oh, then
Instead of
for sure.
Respect Me,
Then
would
he
you?
would bump Adolf Hitler from the top spot.
I thought the best part of 205 was when Cedric, right at the beginning, like first
good.
15 seconds, it's like, so you waiting for your boss to call me? And Gulak looks at him like completely serious, deadpan, was like, why would Sasha Banks call me? And he was just like, I'm waiting for my best friend to call me.
Yeah, that was a really good promo. That was really fun of having Cedric Alexander almost be like, kind of like the high school bully, but like in a fun, playful way. Like, not the bully who's going to beat you up, but the one who's going to make fun of like the fact that you still have Pokemon cards.
Right. I get the feeling what they're trying to do is use this to sort of get Cedric over, but given that Cedric's character is nothing right now, all it's doing is getting Gulak more fucking over. And
Gulak
I love
can
it.
talk. Gulak is great on his feet.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's
been, or he was good the whole week. They had the thing on Raw with Enzo and Nia Jax under the mistletoe.
so good.
And then Gulak running in and saying, "We really need you right now."
Right. No, that's after Alexa interrupts it first.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Because Alexa needs Nia. And Nia legitimately looks like she just got cock blocked.
Yeah.
The mistletoe.
It was good.
Oh, the mistletoe.
Everything great that happened, or I would say everything, or almost everything great that happened this week that wasn't either the 6-person tag on SmackDown or all of NXT was all happened in the background.
That's fair. Yeah, it was definitely a very background kind of week.
We had Tony Nese versus Tozawa. I just don't give a fuck about either of these two people. I tried really hard, but I just don't.
I like Tony Nese.
They're both fine. Tozawa's surprisingly over for being the foreign Japanese guy.
Sure. All that he does is like scream briefly into the microphone.
Crowd's into it.
The crowd. Well, it's a really easy chant.
Yeah.
It's one syllable long.
It's fine. Tony Nese is fine. He's kind of bland. Honestly, I think they should let him talk more.
Should they?
I kind of liked him talking the other week.
Yeah, like I could see where like they're trying to give him more personality. It's just as of right
He's
now.
conflicted about the Zoe train. Like,
Sure,
the whole Zoe train's off the rails or on the rails or whatever. Like
Right.
Gulak's really not there. The only person that's really like on it is Ari Daivari because Noam Dar is on
The
IR
entry
or whatever.
list.
Yeah.
I realistically, because next week on Raw we're getting Enzo versus
Kendrick Alexander.
for the belt, and I really think we're going to see a title change.
Yep.
And I feel like that can only benefit 205. Not that it's bad now, but I feel like that title change will
They've been
give.
doing great things with 205 and
Right.
getting some freshness or in the title contention. This whole story has been building up as a way of being like, all right, here are these 6 to 8 people
Right.
who are fantastic. This is what we do.
Sure.
And kind of taking like or highlighting their brightest points.
Right.
Except for Tony Nese, who I don't give a fuck about at all.
His brightest points are his 8-pack, and that's it.
Sure. But I'm obviously like not right on this because as I said, the first time that I watched this with my wife, she looked at Tony Nese and I was like, or she goes, I want him to win. So
Fair.
he clearly is.
But it could have
person
just
who
been
you
the
want to win
8-pack.
It was. It 100%
Fair.
was. Like not even.
Gonna lie about it.
Yeah. No.
Fair.
So then we had Gulak and Daivari against Alexander and Ali.
Yep.
Really good match. Everybody does great in it.
Right.
This match does more to highlight Mustafa Ali than it does to highlight anybody else.
Sure.
Cedric doesn't really need to go over. He's getting the title match next week. That's going to highlight his stuff.
Right.
This is Mustafa Ali in his hometown. He's in Chicago.
Right.
There's people in the crowd holding Mustafa Ali signs.
Did you happen to see the thing he did for Christmas?
No.
There was a kid on Twitter who tweeted him complaining that he couldn't find a Mustafa Ali action figure. And he wanted one because Mustafa Ali's his favorite.
Right.
Turns out there isn't a Mustafa Ali action figure. So what he did, he got this guy who does custom wrestling figures to send the kid a Mustafa Ali figure for Christmas. He paid for it and everything.
That's great.
Really
That's
fucking cool.
Great.
Really, really heartwarming stuff. Mustafa Ali, which I think this is really interesting because he is of Middle Eastern descent. He's playing the white meat babyface role
100%.
and doing it very well.
As I said, 205 does better with diversity than anybody else does.
I will
We
absolutely
have-
agree with that.
We have an Iranian who is on the top of their card right now.
Yeah.
With Arya Daivari, and he doesn't have to come out as Iranian. He comes out as where he's from. He's from Minnesota.
Yeah. Minnesota by way of Tehran, I think.
Yes, that's how they put him out.
But that he's not coming
His
out.
parents are immigrants. He is not.
He's not coming out in the
But like,
turban.
it's not like, right.
He's got fucking disco jackets.
Yeah.
Yeah. It works.
It's fantastic. I mean,
It's really well done.
Everything that 205 is doing right. They have, they're funny. They have good writing. Their characters are super diverse in a really positive way.
And they only run for an hour.
And it's an hour long, so you can not fuck it up.
Right.
That's the benefit there. It's only an hour.
Because we have a handful of, or we have a couple luchas who are in, or who are getting regular TV time.
Yep.
We have a few Brits. We have a pirate.
Yep.
We.
Really like that. That's Brian Kendrick's gimmick. He's just kind of a pirate.
We have a handful of people who are from Japan.
Sure.
We have such a diverse group, not only I mean, the only thing that really is similar about these people is their weight size. There are huge differences in wrestling styles across.
You have 2 Caucasian Americans, I believe, on the entire roster.
You have Gulak.
Enzo and Gulak.
Well, and Tony Nese.
Oh, yeah, I forget about Tony Nese.
Me too.
So 3. You have 3 Caucasian Americans on the roster. That's pretty fucking diverse. And we're about to get Nia Jax, I think. So
yeah, because the only other person who I haven't really seen in a little while is TJP.
Yeah, and he's Filipino or half Filipino. Yeah.
But I think he's been kind of on and off just because he was injured for a little while. I think that they're kind of slowing up his return back.
I'm okay with that. I've never been a
I've
TJP
never really
fan.
seen him do anything.
He's fine. He won the Cruiserweight Classic last year against Kota Ibushi. He was okay. He's fine. He just doesn't do much for me. Also, I'm pretty sure he's a libertarian, so I may be slightly biased.
I appreciate the honesty here. I think that's really important. On 10XT, we had the Street Profits versus Jobbers.
Yes.
I think.
It was JBL.
Yeah, the
fake
only thing we
JBL,
got
Yeah, John Bradshaw Layfield's there.
was young John Bradshaw.
Young JBL, as Nigel put it. I'm gonna be honest. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of the gimmick, I feel like the Street Profits is a main roster gimmick. I feel like that shit is about to be completely over.
I like the Street Profits.
Yes.
For one reason. And that's
They're fun.
because-
I like how it's one of those things where like you can see that they're bringing along. NXT is great because on a Squared Circle they did a end cap for every NXT like final thing,
and it's
you can tell the amount of like room and time they've traveled in terms of what they're doing.
Sure.
So you can tell that like the Street Profits are going to be that next tag team once they like travel these other tag teams out of the cycle. So I like seeing that like you know who they are because they've been on TV a couple times, but they're just kind of like doing things every so often. So
I'm going to tell you exactly what I like about the Street Profits. I am from South Florida. I used to I went to college down the road from where
Sail?
they record. I had a friend who went to Full Sail. I 100% have met the Street Profits. Not like those two specifically.
But you have met some Street Profits.
That like they do their promos where like they're talking or like they're talking to people on the street.
Right.
And it's just like this weird almost preacher act, but like more of just like build yourself up and that kind of thing.
Sure.
I've 100% met these people.
Sure.
And I just get it. I 100% get it. I love it so much.
It's so over for all of 10 matches they've had on TV, and
I've seen one of them.
I think specifically Montez Ford, the smaller of the two.
Yeah, he's good.
He's good. He's set.
He was great.
Yeah, Angelo Dawkins is fine. He's a tag team wrestler. I think Montez Ford has a future.
What was the other one?
Angelo Dawkins.
He reminded me of D'Lo Brown.
Yes, he's a serviceable mid-card tag team guy.
Yeah.
Is he the Gallows of this area?
But less interesting.
Okay.
Moving from that, we had the Ember Moon versus Sonya Deville match.
Sure, yeah.
I didn't really watch it, to be 100% honest with you.
It was like the Battle of the Gladiators. Like, they have the same ring gear.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Sonya got to show much more than she's been able to show on Raw so far. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting because, of course, you have possibly Ronda Rousey coming in. You have Shayna Baszler, who we'll talk about in a minute. But their gimmicks are MMA gimmicks because they're former MMA competitors. Yeah. Sonya Deville's gimmick is MMA competitor, but she just does it really well.
It's more like a kickboxing thing. Like, I know that she's like she does submission stuff, but like you can tell that she like strikes real well too. So like. Yeah. Like I would have considered it more like Muay Thai,
fair,
or something along those lines. But yeah, it's just
or like it shows that that's what her background is.
Yeah,
right. And she gets to show. Obviously, it's NXT, so she gets to show off a lot more than she's been able to show on Raw. And she actually looks like a competitor on NXT. So it's just so
versus that one real. She laid one real hard clothesline to Sasha. That was probably the highlight of that match.
Sure.
MMA people doing clotheslines is fucking weird to me. It just is. Except for Brock Lesnar, because Brock Lesnar is basically a literal steamroller made of meat.
Right. The meat roller, Brock Lesnar. That's his gimmick, right?
Yeah.
The meat roller.
I mean, he rolls meat for Jimmy John's. It's on his legs, right?
That's true. Touche. Oh God, it would be fucking horrifying if you actually ordered Jimmy John's and Brock Lesnar showed up with your fucking sub.
$17.95.
I want this.
Here's your $20 tip.
Yeah.
Please don't come back.
Take my
Forget my address.
Take my card. My PIN is 4168. My wife is not in the back room. Do not rape her.
Please do not kill me.
Yeah, that match ends exactly the way that it has to because one of them is
on the main
currently
roster.
on the main roster.
Right, and one of them is the women's champion right now.
Yeah. We close out the show with the number one contender fatal 4-way.
Right.
Holy shit, all of that match.
What a match. It was great.
What I love about this is that everybody was allowed to do their full entrances, and I think that's not something that isn't like they don't do on Raw, where like people don't get their like full
Right.
like, entrances, and like everybody on NXT gets their full entrances all the time. It's fucking great.
Agreed.
Almost everything about this match was a surprise to me.
Yeah?
The closest thing to a predictable thing is I would have predicted a table spot.
Okay.
So that one wasn't terribly surprising. I thought it was really fun.
I was predicting the run-in.
Oh yeah, I also
I was
predicted the
definitely
run-in. I
predicting the
fully
run-in.
expected there to be some interference from Undisputed Era.
Sure.
Because or either against Aleister Black or against, Aleister Black's the only person who they possibly could have ran in against.
Right.
For
That
some
surprised
reason,
me, truthfully.
Yeah?
I was like, whoa.
No, I saw that one coming.
I think we may be setting up for an Aleister Adam Cole program,
Well, at this point,
which
like,
I'm okay with.
he took the L.
Yeah.
What do you
holy
do
shit.
now? Like,
Well,
yeah.
I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my wife, and she's on one couch, and I'm installing a solid state drive, so I don't have my TV on with wrestling. I'm looking at my laptop, so
Right.
she cannot see what I am looking at.
Right.
And she's talking to me, and I don't know what she's talking about, even at this very moment, because I'm just sitting there with my mouth agape,
Right.
trying to figure out what the fuck I just saw.
Right.
And I'm texting you guys, and I'm like,
Yes.
that Fatal 4-Way match, because Thackeray watched it about a half hour before I did.
Sure.
I'm assuming that you watched it a day before I did.
Yeah, I watched it last night.
And I'm looking, and I'm like, that Fatal 4-Way match, what just happened?
Right.
Does this count? Does this count as a loss? Because like I wouldn't normally count a Fatal 4-Way
They could
loss,
do- they
but
could-
he did. He took the pin.
They could do
He took the
undefeated. They could do undefeated in singles competition, but he took the pin. So I think Alistair just needs to own it, because I saw because I follow Alistair on Twitter, and
Sure.
he puts out really cryptic cryptic tweets, because he does Twitter correctly as a gimmick wrestler.
He
I
stays in
understand that. I
kayfabe.
appreciate
Yeah.
that.
And I was like, that's weird, because I didn't know that
Dean
he lost.
also
I know that
does.
Gargano got the W. I didn't know that he took the pin.
Right.
So I was like, that's weird. And then I thought about it, and I was like, oh, he's pissed that he took the L. So I think they're gonna just let him run with it and say, I took the L. Cole, you're dead now. He's
I
like,
think
you're a
that's
marked
the
man.
program.
You took my
Yeah,
win.
like,
And-
yeah.
And I think that was the best way you could have because eventually Alistair has to lose.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, my one sort of complaint about NXT is every time you get a hot new guy come in, the deal is
streak.
right. And so I think to have him lose it this way, both in a fatal 4-way match, but also because of the interference, because realistically Gargano gets that sort of slingshot DDT because of
Holy shit, that slingshot
great.
DDT.
It's
There were
super
two
good.
things.
I mean, Gargano
think
was
about
going
that
into this match with the W. I think, like I looked at the layout, and I was like, Gargano's going to get this W. There's no way he's not going
Right.
to. Especially looking at how the other ones have been booked. Like Killian Dane's still part of Sanity. Lars is still too new to do it. Alistair doesn't need the belt, and Gargano's the face.
Right.
And he's on the come up, so he gets the W.
Right.
Yeah.
I super did not, or I was telling both of you guys this.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% thought Gargano was there to eat the pin.
Fair enough.
I thought, or I didn't know who was going to get the win.
I
Right.
thought Killian Dane was there to eat the pin to
Same.
protect those guys, and I thought Gargano was going to get it over Dane after like some weird shit from Lars Sullivan. But like I just
Sure.
saw, like as it was progressing, I was like, this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. I was
Right.
just getting stressed out.
Everything about that match was goddamn amazing.
It was good.
I'm just really
Match of the
excited
week,
for it.
for sure. Match of
Without
the week.
question. I think what's great is, of course, because we're getting a takeover right before the Royal Rumble.
Yes.
And so this sort of sets up, okay, we're going to get Gargano versus Almas, and we get that program for the next 4 weeks. That sort of lead up to it. But I think what I'm excited about is that we're going to get an Undisputed Era, or at least a Cole versus Black. And I think with Cole's character work combined with both of their in-ring work, I think it makes a lot of sense, because Cole gets to be I lost to you, but I shouldn't have lost. You know, he gets to play cocky Adam Cole.
Here's what I hope. They do not put him in any tag matches. Like, just have him face them alone.
Yeah.
Because if they were, because there's definitely opportunities where they could throw him in with Roddy or somebody like that.
Right.
I hope that they don't.
I don't see that happening, just because I think
I think that they appreciate their characters enough to not do that.
Right. And
it's just WWE does that all the time.
I don't think Alistair and Cole are in the same ring together until Takeover.
Probably not.
That's
I don't see that happening.
You might have him like do a 2-on-1.
No,
with
what makes
O'Reilly
more
and
sense
Fish.
is
we'll see a run-in or a brawl sometime the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
But I think that's all we're going to get.
Yeah, 'cause
Might get
what's
an
better
in-ring
is
promo from Cole and have like Alistair do like the stare down, but they're not gonna.
Right.
They're not gonna wrestle each other.
it's better if you just have Cole talking shit from from a distance.
Oh, yeah. I think I
Just do the total heel shit of I took your streak.
right.
You know, don't say Gargano beat you. Say I beat you.
And that's exactly what I'm expecting. If you ever get a chance to go back and look, some of Cole's best character work in Ring of Honor, he'd do this fucking gimmick story time with Adam Cole. He'd be just sitting on a chair, legs crossed. He'd open up a book and he'd start reading, and it was a fairy tale. And then he just got real fucking serious and smarmy and cocky with it. You know, I beat you. You can't win. Like this is just, it's not possible. And I think that is what we're going to see. And
this is the week that
really
I was bought
excited.
into Adam Cole as a character.
Yes.
Fuck you guys. So yeah, it's the end of the year.
Yep.
It's been a pretty memorable year, I think. There's definitely been ups. There's been a bunch
hell
of
of a year
downs.
for wrestling. Hell of a year.
So we have a lot of memorable women shit, just because the women's division as a legitimate player is so new that almost everything that they do is memorable at this point.
Right.
Until you have a women's tag match or a women's tag team title, I think that's all that's really left. Other than like headlining or one of the top 4 pay-per-views.
I'd like to think by next summer we're going to get a women's tag belt.
I think that the only thing stopping them right now is that it's too slim of a division.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
But we have a bunch of good female tags on NXT right now.
Right.
They're going to be coming up eventually.
Well, on top of that, I mean, we have 20 women's wrestlers so far. I don't necessarily think you need one for both shows, but I think give the women an hour show after 205 or after NXT and have both rosters compete on it as far as a tag belt.
I think that they're getting between the women's division and 205, those two things alone are worth talking about.
Sure.
Because both of them pretty much have come out of tournaments.
Yep.
You had the Mae Young competition. You also had the
Cruiserweight
Classic. 205 is a great show. I would say that like writing and production quality, it's probably the best show.
Sure.
NXT loses only because their production is cheap.
Well, and also, I mean, they don't get main roster exposure.
No.
I mean, that hurts them.
205, I think, can only get better. What they need to learn is that they can't just have 205 be on 205.
Right.
They need to have those people be in tag title contention. They need to be in main title contention from time to time.
Just to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just so that like people know who these people are and give you a reason to join in. The reason why NXT does so well is because it's fresh, it's young, it's indie.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's so easy to book it too. With Raw, we had 2 open challenges this week. You know, how hard is it for Cedric Alexander to answer Kurt Hawkins or even Roman Reigns? Give me Cedric Alexander almost eking out the win against Roman Reigns, and suddenly Cedric Alexander is 5 more times over than he already is, just because you took Roman Reigns to the limit as a 205 guy, you know.
Have the Singh brothers start joining Ari Daivari.
Sure. I'm perfectly okay with that. And again, the Singh brothers as a tag team on 205. Give me that.
It makes sense. They were on NXT.
They were in the Cruiserweight Classic. Both of them.
Yeah. I mean, they're good. They're fun. It's good stuff.
Sure.
They're good.
And also, you know, in the coming year, we have the rumored British show to look forward to, because of course they did the UK Classic in January of this year, which got us Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, Trent Seven, Wolfgang. You know, the fact that we might have a weekly show to look forward to, or a bi-weekly show to look forward to with those guys, is great, because every single time Pete Dunne has been in a ring this year on WWE television,
it's been fucking incredible.
It has been a fan-fucking-tastic match. Just it's heads above.
If they want to push the network, they need quality product, and you can't keep putting out these YouTube shows, is essentially what they are, as their original content, and have people justified to go out and pay for that, because people don't, you're going to get pay-per-view buys, but the reality is I don't need to see the pay-per-view. Sure. Your pay-per-view buys are going to be your top 4.
Right.
So you need to have good content on the network to justify it.
Don't get me wrong. Things like Ride Along can be a lot of fun depending on who's on.
I absolutely love I absolutely love these shows, but they're not worth the network for.
Right. Like,
I only have the network because I can watch pay-per-views.
Yes,
live.
Pay-per-views and NXT. That's all. That's what the network is to me. If I get a chance to see a good episode of Ride Along or something, cool, great. But NXT 205.
Could I watch that same stuff on YouTube and have it be
sure
the same
could.
thing?
You absolutely
100%.
could.
So I mean, what makes sense to me is they're already doing these dark matches.
Right.
They're already doing all this stuff. It takes almost no work to just leave the cameras on, cut it together for an hour a week.
Right.
And just have it be. I don't know why you need to, or why they insist on changing the rope colors all the time.
You know,
for have reasons. A women's show where you have a women's tag team title,
please.
And you know, you could get away with unifying the belt and just have have everybody have one women's belt.
Sure.
Or keep 2. Who gives a shit?
What I would say is keep your individual, championship belts, but have that tag belt defended between brands.
Yeah. Completely.
That way you don't have to work 4 matches and do a pay-per-view. You only have to work 3. But you also sort of get the opportunity to maybe see Becky Lynch and Charlotte against Bayley and Sasha for tag belts, which you might not get to see otherwise.
We had the first ever women's Money in the Bank match this year, which I would say is arguably more interesting than the men's this year.
Yeah,
especially since there was 2 of them.
Yeah, we did get 2 of them, and thankfully James Ellsworth only won 1 of them.
Jesus Christ.
What I really like is that they realized, oh shit, we fucked up with that, and gave us another one on free TV, no less. Yeah. I respect that. That was definitely one of the highlights of this year, I think, is women's wrestling done right at times.
Yes.
Also the Mae Young Classic, which got some really, really fantastic matches, also brought us Kairi Sane, who is a hellacious addition to the NXT roster and eventually the women's roster. But on top of that, we got to see some sort of women's indie wrestling, which you don't really get to see very often. And it makes me really excited for possible signings. I really, really want them to sign Toni Storm, not just because she's a hot 21-year-old Australian rock and roll chick, but once again, we're mostly because of that.
We're seeing a lot of diversity in the division.
Yes.
Which is something that seems to be happening a lot more across everything.
And what's better is actual character work. Character work, not just hot chick or crazy chick.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's an actual change. Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. I just really hope in the coming year they really try to make it more about the actual women and not Stephanie McMahon. I really hate that. The sort of how Stephanie has to be at the center of all of it.
Who do you guys think comes out ahead this year? Like, if you could name one person that you think has had a better year than anyone else.
Are we being serious, or are we like, what are we doing? Because Roman Reigns.
I mean, like, seriously,
in kayfabe, definitely.
Like Roman Reigns wins.
Not in kayfabe, but I mean in like, who do you think has had more personality pushed or on them than anybody?
I think if we're strictly talking main roster WWE, I think The Miz had a really, really great year.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I think The Miz had a really great year. He's, if we're talking just main roster WWE, that's my pick.
I'm willing to say NXT.
NXT, you know what? The Velveteen Dream.
I was going to say Velveteen Dream. Watch out for surprise Royal Rumble entrant on that one.
That's kind of what I'm wondering.
You think that after that match, there's a possibility that they rush him to the main roster?
I don't know. I mean, he might be a Royal Rumble entrant and then go back to NXT, but I just think like he would like he might be a surprise. I would love to see
NXT people in the Rumble.
They did.
They're not going to win. I mean, it doesn't matter because there's already one person who's going to win.
I think we might be sort of running the gimmick now of getting one a year, because this past year we got Ty Dillinger in at the number 10 spot about 8 months before he actually got called up. Okay. And so, I mean, put Velveteen can definitely out there, see Velveteen.
Like see what the feeling is on him, and if he gets a huge pop, then like put him in a program and then send him up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like you run Velveteen the same way you run Alistair. Like Velveteen doesn't need a title.
No.
He doesn't give a shit about that.
He's your Gold Dust. He's your Gold Dust 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. No, I would totally agree with that. He took nothing and turned it into something fantastic.
I've got some slight fantasy booking for Royal Rumble if you guys want to hear it. Just really quick, like funny.
I was gonna say Kevin Owens. I think Kevin Owens has had such a roller coaster of a year that he's gone through so many changes throughout the year.
Right.
But like his personality has been what changed, or like how he performed and things like that have basically been the same.
Sure.
But like starting out the year with Chris Jericho and then ending it up with Sami Zayn.
Right.
His run with the World Heavyweight and then the US and now this program with Shane, which seems to have been going on for all year, but has actually only been a couple months. But while it's not the most compelling thing, because we've seen this happen with McMahon's before, it makes KO look great.
Absolutely. For all intents and purposes, as frustrating as it can be to see them on TV sometimes, the McMahons really do sort of have that. They really can give you that rub.
Yeah. For sure. Because it's so easy to hate them.
Sure is. If just
this one doesn't like Stephanie.
I don't. I mean, she's okay. I'm not gonna.
Her less on TV has been great this year.
Sure has.
I think that's the one thing that we can all agree on. If we're gonna say best character work or personality work, I'll say Stephanie McMahon not being on TV. And then on the other side of that, Trips also not being on TV has made me kind of sad. But I understand that. Yeah, I think he's also benefited from not being on TV, and you can see the NXT.
Him more of an
Are
attraction.
they going to do anything with him?
I think the product NXT, the product has gotten even better. Like,
Absolutely.
I think he's having to like put more effort into it now that it's starting to almost become its own show, and he's just like, I gotta really like
focus.
I'm irritated because it seems like that storyline that they built up in Survivor Slam or Survivor Series became not a
Survivor
thing
Slam.
right away.
Which one?
Trips basically stole the win.
I think he'll be back for for WrestleMania to fight Kurt Angle, because they're definitely not doing Jordan Angle now. Maybe they just have too many things or too many balls in the air that they were like, all right, let's sit on this.
Either they backed out of that one, or they're just like they might bring it back for Rumble. Like he might be a surprise. Like you might have Angle and Trips as a surprise entrant for the Rumble, and then do the same thing that they did for like Lesnar and Goldberg, where like you kind of like carried that feud inside the Rumble and like kind of like set it loose into the wild at Mania, which was really cool.
That's solid booking.
Let's do some booking.
Real quick on character work.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to say, even though technically he's not main roster WWE anymore, I think we can't undercut Chris Jericho's character character work this year.
Jesus Christ, he's great.
Because
he's great all the time.
Holy shit, what a transition has he made.
Alpha Club.
So excited.
I want that shirt, but I don't
so
think
excited
you can get
for
it right
next
now.
week.
I'm pretty sure they're sold out.
That shirt's dead.
So excited for next week. All right, fantasy booking.
All right, what you got?
Mine's really, really tiny, but I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Origins, and there's a lot of like crocodiles in the Nile.
There are.
Right?
Okay.
So you know how specifically I like how you brought up
them?
Yeah,
Yes.
you can. You can
In the
totally
water.
punch them.
You can-
and
you can
they
fight them.
are awful.
I just want to
They
point
are
out,
so vicious.
completely unrelated to wrestling, that means there are 2 video games this year in which you can actively punch crocodiles, and that makes me really fucking happy.
What's the other one?
The new DLC for Resident Evil 7.
All right, what
Oh.
Yeah, you play a backwoods Louisiana like swamp guy.
Play Luke Harper.
And you basically play old ass Luke Harper. And spoiler alert, at one point he gets like a pneumatic fist and you can fucking punch crocodiles. It's amazing.
Great.
Yeah. Anyway, fantasy booking.
What
Sorry.
do you got?
But
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
like speaking of Jericho, I think Jericho, and maybe it was the last year's Rumble or the year before that, he kind of did the I'm gonna sit outside the ring
Last year.
thing.
It was this
where
past year. It was
it
this year.
seems to be like a new strategy that people are adopting, where they just sit outside the ring, they go
It works
under the
for
ring.
Jericho. I hate it for everybody else.
But what we do, right? So crocodiles put water all are outside the ring. Put crocodiles in the water so they can't do that.
So
over
ring
the-
mode.
yeah,
You're
over
saying
the-
ring mode.
Oh yeah,
Like
over
the
the
old
if you-
WCW spring break
people
ring.
people really will not want to go over the top rope because you might die from crocodiles, and it makes the whole thing fun. So like Kane goes over the top rope, might die from crocodiles. We might never see Kane again. Like what happens to his mayorship? Like it makes the whole thing. There's just an added layer of like crocodile death that might be happening there.
So does Kofi land on a crocodile and then bounce off of other croc heads back into the ring?
Oh yeah, if you don't hit
Like
the
that
water, you're
arcade
good.
game?
You can crocodile back into the ring. See?
I'm so into that.
All right. Nick, what you got?
Oh man, let's see. So we're gonna rebook Kurt Hawkins. Kurt Hawkins is now the realtor Baxter Saxton. His finishing move is the closing cost, and basically his gimmick is that he's just going to stand backstage and try to sell homes to wrestlers. That's it. That's all. That's all he's doing.
Is he part of Titus Worldwide? Or
Oh
is
yeah,
he-
absolutely, absolutely.
All right, I like
Kurt Hawkins, same haircut, but now he's in a suit.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Also has the cane for some reason.
One of them John Cena suits.
Yes.
I love the character work that they've been doing with Goldust and Titus.
Yes. Just all of Titus Worldwide.
And all of Goldust. Whenever Goldust shows up, it's going to be gold.
Pun intended?
Yes.
Okay, good. I respect that.
24 fucking karat gold productions.
I would love to see. It's sort of like the rumored sort of dream match, especially on Squared Circle. But I really would love to see perhaps Velveteen Dream as your entrant into the Rumble from NXT, eliminating Goldust and mocking him.
Just give him the gold dust
Yes.
like I don't know what it is, like spit or kiss thing that he does.
Right.
The Goldust move. We all know
Yeah.
what it is.
And perhaps
The taunt is labeled Goldust in 2K.
right. Exactly. And so then you maybe sort of lead up to a cross roster, main roster NXT program up to not necessarily WrestleMania, but perhaps the takeover before WrestleMania, where you have Goldust passing the torch.
I think that would work better on Takeover than like a preview or not a preview. The before matches
The
before
pre-show?
Mania, yeah,
Yeah.
It would work better as a takeover match
Right.
than a pre-show match because like I think I'm pretty sure Dustin would love to be on NXT just because
Of how
his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that'd be great.
And it would benefit the Velveteen Dream character even more to sort of legitimately get that torch passed in the same way that it would have benefited Bray Wyatt to have been the one to end the
Damn,
streak.
You did it before I could have done it, and I'm glad that you did it. We didn't talk about Bray Matt at all.
No, it's
not a lot happened. I mean, it was just
fine.
Bray was in the store. Bray was in the ring. You had Matt actually show up, and
I love Bray's entrance. It's so great.
It
I
is
love
really
Bray.
great.
Why do I love Bray?
because it's a
you
really
want more for him.
because it's a really well designed character that's being just pissed on for 4 years now.
I'm still excited about it. I still
Sure.
have high hopes for this. This was the weaker week of
Yes,
everything.
agreed.
I think it has a lot to do with Christmas. I think that it seemed like nobody gave a fuck about being there this week.
I think having Matt attack Bray
Doesn't seem right.
No,
Right.
I didn't. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Bray should attack Matt
Unless you're getting
if you're going to do an attack.
right. Unless this is going to give us next week vicious. I'm not fucking around anymore, Bray.
I really hope so. That's what I would like to see.
Then I don't understand the booking here.
I have almost nothing to book other than there was a spot in the triple threat tag match where Aiden English was on the top rope, and if you don't know this, Aiden English is the son-in-law of of the late Eddie Guerrero.
Correct.
He's married to Eddie's
Man,
sister.
we didn't talk about
daughter.
that. Yeah.
And he did the Eddie frog splash.
Right.
I just want them to do like a reverse. What was Chavo's name?
Chavo was Kerwin White.
I want them to do a reverse Kerwin White with Aiden English and slowly turn him from the whitest white guy into full-blown lie, cheat, and steal Eddie Guerrero.
Like you just have him start like tanning really bad, like just lots of self-tanner and just a terrible mustache. Well, I mean, he's already got a terrible mustache.
Now, I do want to... because we've had so many predictions come true lately, I want to put an asterisk on that one and say, I do not really want that. That would be the most tasteless thing on earth. If we can have anybody's thing come true, let's say it be Thackeray's because it's the best one.
Okay, but I just...
I think that we're 2 weeks in which we've accurately predicted
You got
stuff.
the Ziggler one, and I think you had the one before that involving the U.S. title as well.
Right.
No, Ziggler tournament,
Yeah.
and then you had one as well that you got that was involving the U.S. title or something along those lines.
I don't remember what it was.
I think that you
okay
predicted
with
that... One of us predicted that that Ziggler was going to win the title.
I think that was you. Was it you?
Yeah, I wanted Ziggler.
It wasn't me.
I didn't think it was going to happen.
No,
I
I
thought
wanted
Ziggler was
Ziggler. I wanted Ziggler to win, and you get a Ziggler Rude program. That was what I was thinking was going to happen out of that.
And then we predicted the tournament.
Yep.
Right.
It's still yet to be seen. We could have still predicted the ending of that tournament.
Which is
True.
Rude winning.
Oh, I'm almost positive that's what's going to happen.
Rude winning and Ziggler coming back being like, "Fuck you, that's my title."
Right.
That's going to happen.
I realize that you don't want your Aiden Guerrero
My
gimmick to happen.
my other shitty fake booking
Go
is
on.
just have Jason Jordan start dressing up as Dean Ambrose.
Slowly, like,
Because he has no character, so you may as well have him steal Dean Ambrose's.
Could we just turn Jason Jordan into like Ditto from Pokemon? Just he starts stealing everyone's gimmick?
Yes.
I'm perfectly okay with that.
Ziggler was supposed to do that, and he did it better. he did it better.
I cannot shake the image of Aiden English tanned up coming out in a lowrider with really smiling Rusev.
I love that
In the
spot,
back,
though.
just
That
like-
spot was just so beautiful to me.
Sure.
It's such a
'cause
small thing.
In my head, I was like,
Absolutely.
I saw it, and I was
But,
like, did he just Eddie Frog Splash? And
Yep.
like,
This was one of those moments that he was like, I have or this is a moment where I have a platform.
Right.
I get to show respect to somebody who is important to me and my family.
Sure.
It was great. It was absolutely beautiful. All in all, great year in wrestling, or well, not great year in wrestling, but a good year in wrestling.
There were some really, really great things, and I think as a whole, it was, as far as match quality, as far as angles, we got a lot more great matches this year than previously, especially if we bring in New Japan, Ring of Honor, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, things like that. NXT especially. We got fucking War Games this year, which is
War Games was amazing.
in my top 10 for matches. We got 3 great Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate matches. All 3 of those make my top 10 this year. Okada Omega trilogy. I can't say enough good stuff about it, honestly. It's been a hell of a year.
Yeah, it has been really, really good. Thank anybody for listening. You can find us at Towers UG or at towersunderground.com. There is a YouTube channel which has a bunch of really cool stuff.
Right.
Anything from a couple of different shows that my wife does, from shit my husband plays to whatever. Paved in Bronze. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I should not forget that. I love you. You can find us on Twitch at Towers UG. Everything that we do is at Towers UG on Facebook. Come message us. Leave us reviews, comments, like, share. Everything is super appreciated. We are going to have a bonus episode of Kayfabe Club later on this week to highlight
Wrestle Kingdom 12.
Wrestle Kingdom 12. We're going to let Nick talk, which he's so quiet all the time, so we got to
shit.
give him the opportunity and the platform.
Yeah. No.
You can
Sarcasm.
I am Brian Ferguson. You can find me at bferg8 on Twitter.
Is it 8 or 08? I think it's 8. I just tweeted you earlier.
At bferg8 on Twitter. We're going to start trying to play some more games and do some fun stuff with Kayfabe Club.
Hashtag food a wrestler.
Yes. Yeah. So
Become a fan. Share us. Tell your friends.
we also have Nick Desjardins has a fantastic book that's available right now that you can buy some places, specifically Amazon or online retailers is probably the easiest one.
You'll get it in like 2 days. Please buy it so I can continue to watch wrestling all day long.
It's called In Between Days.
Really good.
You can find him at
A New America Classic. Yeah, because fucking Twitter.
And as always, Thackeray here at PB and Ladies. Once again, thank you. Have a great New Year's. Good night, you marks.